What's up, guys? Welcome back to Goshen Games. I am Goshen, and today we are continuing our countdown of my top 5 Resident Evil games. For our number 3 pick, we are playing Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 is the obviously sequel to Part 1, which takes place immediately after Part 1 and in the same time as Part 3. The game came out in 1998, and it features Leon and Claire. Leon, a rookie cop, Claire Redfield being Chris Redfield's kid sister, who entered the scene looking for her brother after she, I guess, heard he went missing. This game was hailed as, it's a very fan favorite kind of game, and so much so that they are actually doing a full ground up remake of it, which I cannot wait for. So by the time Resident Evil 2 the remake comes out, this list may actually change, and that would be perfectly fine by me. I would have no complaints at all. So, like I said, this game takes place immediately after Part 1. While Part 1 featured the T virus, this game features the G virus, which is a mutated strain of the T virus. Both viruses were worked on by William Birkin. And in this game, William Birkin injects himself, which actually that's him. Okay, I was not expecting to do a boss fight, but here you go. So William Birkin injects himself with the virus and basically becomes like this unstoppable creature. As you can see, he kind of looks like a scrotum. All right. So, don't run into it. Don't get, dude. You got like stuff attached on you. So, no, get off, get off. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a boss fight while I was doing this. So anyways, it's dude, that thing's on my crotch. Really? Alright, it's just like, yeah, it's a lot. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I got a little sidetracked there. So anyways. So this game, just like most of the other Resident Evil games, it takes place within a day's time frame. And this is basically Leon and Claire's escape through the city. Now, throughout their escape, they meet other characters, Ada Wong being one of them, and Sherry Birkin being another. Sherry Birkin is the daughter of William Birkin, who I believe she's actually immune to the virus outbreak because of her father. At the same time, which you don't really see so much of it in this game, you see it more in Resident Evil 3. There are Umbrella operatives working throughout the city to try and contain the outbreak. Which you can see in a couple cutscenes, but it's mostly prevalent in Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 2, for the most part, takes place in the Raccoon City Police Department, which then eventually you go through, and once you leave the Raccoon City Police Department, you go into the underground sewers and make your way to the lab of the game, which, in every game there's like some sort of lab or something, because it's a Resident Evil game and labs happen. So this game, like I said, it was very, very good. Not much has changed between this game and part 1. The gameplay is still very similar. It's still a third-person view, different camera angles. You know, they didn't change much, to be honest, and it's fine. Like, why fix something that's not broke? You know, what they mostly did was they went ahead and they added a whole bunch of new features. You know, they instead of like having to find the lighter, they had it built in. You know, it's stuff like that, little tiny features, but a whole bunch of them nonetheless. And it was good. I don't need handgun bullets. Why am I taking handgun bullets for? The game itself was good. It had a good story to it. I mean, very similar to story to part 1 because it was an immediate sequel. And like I said, why fix something that's not broke? They did such a good job in part 1. They might as well have continued it, and they did, which led to part 2 and part 3 because the formula between the two are very similar. Now, this has a little bit more action than part 1 did, because part 1 was more puzzle based than this was, which is it's nothing wrong with that, you know, because it still had, there was still quite a bit of puzzles in this, and you know, it just wasn't as prevalent as part 1 was. As far as the graphics go, I mean, it's PS1 days, so you're not gonna expect it to be like now, where it's like awesome graphics. But still, you know, for back in the day, the graphics were good. Nowadays, they're just like pixelated and blocky. Hence the want for a remake on HD. You know, so they're working on it. It's coming, which is kind of one of the reasons why I actually wanted to do this whole top 5 picks, because there's so many Resident Evil games, so many. And then Resident Evil Survivor is actually intertwined with this game, which not many people actually played Resident Evil Survivor. It wasn't particularly a good game. It had an interesting story and different character paths, but yeah, it wasn't the greatest game. But it takes place with this game because the main character, Resident Evil Survivor, is a friend of Leon's. But neither here nor there. You know, one of the best things to come out of this game, or two of the best things to come out of the game, was Leon and Ada, because Leon and Ada's story continuously overlaps throughout the entire series. They started in part 2, then in part 4, Ada Wong is back, and you see Leon and Ada interacting in part 4, and then once again in part 6, Leon and Ada are back at it. Ada Wong is actually kind of like a for-hire, like mercenary type of person. She goes for whoever the highest bidder is, and in this case, she's trying to retrieve the virus from Umbrella, and she was actually hired by Umbrella to do so. She's working for Albert Wesker, who is the main antagonist of part 1. And you see that in Resident Evil 4 as well, that she's working with Albert Wesker. You know, Leon's character is actually has more impact in the series than Claire's does. You know, he's been in more games. He's actually been in the, I want to say, no, you know, I was gonna say he's been in the most games, but he's actually tied with Chris, I believe, because Chris was in part 1.
This way.
Code Veronica. Nope, Chris wins. He was in the most. Chris was in part 1. Code Veronica, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, and Resident Evil 7. Leon, though, made his debut in this game, Resident Evil 2. He was then in Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 6. He was also he's also the main character in the Resident Evil movies, the CG movies, not the crappy live action ones that we got. because the live action one just completely ruined Leon's character. But we're not gonna talk about that. It didn't happen, guys. It didn't happen. But you know, it was, this game was, for back in the day, it was fantastic. These graphics that you're seeing right now, this was like awesome. I remember playing this when it first came out. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And those of you who like lived through the PS1 days, you would have to agree with me. Like these type of games and these type of graphics, they hold like a special place in your heart. You know, it's a bit of nostalgia. You know, we went away from the 2D graphics to 3D CGI, not CGI, FMV scenes. That's what they used to be called, FMV scenes. And it was a lot of fun. Like I remember my cousin once recorded me playing this when we first played it, and like we got so freaked out in the game, we got so scared, and we played it back, and it was the most hilarious thing we've ever heard. So you know, special place in my heart. And so that's why, you know, this is number 3 on my list. I'm gonna, you know, give this a rating. It's gonna be, you know, 8 out of 10. Definitely must play, and I cannot wait till the remake comes out. One of the reasons why people really want a remake is because Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, which was on the Wii, kind of did a little reimagining of this with updated graphics, and oh my god, it was beautiful, guys. It was beautiful. So anyways, with that, I'll leave you on this FMV scene, and if you like this video, please hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe, and I will catch you all later. Peace out, guys.